Welcome to the Daily Color Guard Report for July 28th, 2014. My name is Todd Schaefer, Manager of Research for VectorVest, and I'll be providing your market review this evening. Beginning at the top of our homepage, we see the major indices traded mixed today. The Dow Industrial is the big mover, up 0.13%. The VVC down 1.12%. That trading action resulted in a market timing gauge pointing 2 ticks into the red. And guidance reads, the color guard is somewhat bearish. VectorVest does not advocate buying any stocks at this time. This gauge and guidance summarize the top row of information in our color guard square, where we're analyzing the trends of the components of our market timing system. Today we see that we assigned a yellow color to our price indicator. It closed at $37.84, which was higher on a week-over-week basis, but lower on a day-over-day basis, and so its color is yellow. Because it is higher on a week-over-week basis, the primary wave remains up. Our RT indicator turning red today, closing at a value of 0.97, which was lower on a week-over-week and day-over-day basis. And finally, the buy-sell ratio closing at 0.94, down week-over-week and day-over-day as well. So with one yellow light and two red lights, we see additional weakening in the trend of the color guard. Although again, when we see red and green together, we'll look for that sideways movement in the price action. Looking at our MTI indicator, it closed today at a value of 1.06, higher on a week-over-week basis, but lower on a day-to-day basis. It had been strengthening through the middle of last week, but is now pulling back. However, because its value is still above 1, the underlying trend remains up, our second pair of initials in the trend column. All of this in the context of our confirmed call, the slowest, most conservative of our timing signals. Taking a look at the trends on a longer-term basis, let's take a look at our market timing graph. Here we can see on a one-year basis a lot of congestion of price right around our 40-day moving average. Let's zoom into our 3-month time frame to get more clarity. Here we see current price action well off the high established back here on July 1st at 38.63. Price then worked lower, although we've been moving essentially sideways for the past couple weeks. Price did test resistance, but with today's hammer, we'll just have to see where tomorrow's price action goes. Looking at the trends of our secondary indicators in the market timing system, all of our indicators falling with price action over the past several days. Each of them is still in their established downtrends, however, still above their previous lows. Let's change our layout to the RT Kicker layout. Here we look at our moving averages to see whether or not RT is building or weakening. Here we see we're still in this bearish configuration with the short-term moving average being below the long-term moving average, and not only as the drawn pair but also as the rounded values with the 10-day at a 0.98, the 15 at a 0.99. Significant to note that both of those moving averages are still both sloping to the downside. We change our layout now to our final study, our DEW layout. Here we notice price still operating below that 30-day weighted moving average. The deep trended price oscillator falling to a lower value today. And finally, the histogram for our MACD falling to a lower value today of a negative 0.03 after what had been a weakening downtrend. And so to recap, we see the market struggling to regain traction. While some of our short-term indicators had turned to the bullish side, we see weakening in many of our other indicators. Price action continues to move sideways. Before we turn to our guidance, let's look at our Huey study, this being Monday. Here we have the Huey Gold Bugs Index with our Midas Touch study. We see that currently we have a bullish signal in place for the index. However, price action flattening has made the short-term moving average of stop price start to flatten a little bit. Price, however, still well above those moving averages of stop price. Let's turn to the views for our guidance. We scroll down to the strategy section. We read stocks ended relatively flat today as the latest merger and acquisition news helped offset disappointing economic data. With two red lights and an up situation, prudent investors should not buy stocks at this time. Aggressive investors and traders should play the market up or down as it develops. Looking at the top performing searches in our database today, we see a mix of both bulls and bears for the one-day winners as well as the 5-day winners, indicating that mixed trend. For you easy riders, we do have a repeat. Romancing the NPM, repeated as both our top performing 5-day and 1-day repeat strategy. Let's take a look at our sample portfolios. Just one portfolio indicating trading action today. The S&P 500 Winners Verns Vultures portfolio. is trading the confirmed calls, which is currently to the downside, so Apple stopped out at $99.02, so we'll sell that off in the morning and short 192 shares of PBYI. Now let's take a look at our calendar of events to see what might impact the markets tomorrow. The Federal Open Market Committee begins their meetings tomorrow. At 7:45, we'll have data from the ICSC Goldman store sales, and at 8:55, the Redbook retail numbers. At 9 o'clock, we'll have the S&P Case-Shiller Housing Price Index. And then at 10 o'clock, Consumer Confidence and the State Street Investors Confidence Index. So we'll look for those stories, but for tonight, that'll wrap up our recap. Thank you for being with us. I look forward to being with you again tomorrow. Have a great night.